Assalamualaikum friends, hope all of you are fine by the grace of Almighty Allah. Today I am going to teach you the second lesson of the most 12th English book, that is Forgetting. Forgetting by Robert Lind. Forgetting. By Robert Lind. Forgetting is an essay. It's written by Robert Lind. In this essay, Robert Lind looks at forgetting. He discusses forgetting both as a virtue and as a vice. You know, virtue is something that is considered as morally good, and vice is something that is considered as morally bad. That's not good. That's not good from the humanistic perspective. Robert Lind in this essay explains forgetting both as a virtue and as a vice. Robert Lind seems to say that forgetting at times may be a virtue, but at times it may be a vice. Robert Lind feels that people make fuss over this subject, or forgetting. Robert Lind says most of the people are astonished at the absent-mindedness of their friends, at the absent-mindedness of other people. When somebody comes to know that somebody has lost anything because of forgetfulness, he is astonished. People are astonished. But I'm not astonished at the absent-mindedness of human beings. I am astonished at the absence of human memory. You look at human memory, how absent human memory is. A modern man is able to remember many things. A modern man remembers the names and addresses of his friends and relatives. A modern man remembers why he has to have lunch, why he has to have dinner. A modern man remembers when he has to have lunch, when he has to have dinner. Modern man's memory is filled with many names, like the names of actors, names of actresses, names of players, cricket players, football players, politicians, etc. Modern man can tell you what the weather was like in the past time. Say, modern man can tell you what the weather was in the August 2018, what the weather was like in September 2014. Modern man remembers many things. You see how efficient human memory is. How many people in London forget to wear any of the items of their clothing while leaving in the morning? Not 1 in 100, not 1 in 10,000. Nobody forgets to wear clothes. That means human beings have got a good memory, but we take these things for granted. We're unable to appreciate the efficiency of human memory. Had human memory not been so efficient, we may not have been living in such complex, beautiful societies. But there are few matters, few things in regard to which human memory does not work with usual perfection. There are certain things which people tend to forget. For example, medicine is one of such things which most of the people forget to take at the appointed hours. This is surprising. This surprises me, why people forget to take medicines at the appointed hours, because medicine should be one of the easiest things to remember. It's an easy task, but the fact remains that most of the people forget to take medicines at the appointed time. Now, some people say if you forget to take medicines, you take medicines in your pocket. But if I take medicines in my pocket as well. I forget to take medicines at the appointed hours. Now let's ask the psychologists the same question, that why people forget to take medicines at time. Psychologist, psychologist is a person who knows or who studies soul, mind, behavior of a person. So psychologists will tell you that people forget medicines because they don't like medicines. They don't like the taste of medicines. They feel medicines are antipathic. But that cannot be the answer of my question, my case. Because I don't dislike, I like medicines. I've been taking medicines from my childhood. I like medicine. I don't feel medicines are antipathic. If people forget because of antipathy towards medicines, then how come I forget medicines as easily as those who don't like medicines? In the same way, posting of letters is also such a thing which many people forget. There was a time when people used to write letters to one another, especially informal letters. But that custom has faded away because of many things, because of revolution in digital technology, because of revolution in mobile phone sector, internet, social networking sites, etc. People used to forget to post letters. Posting of letters was also considered as something which most of the people used to forget. This forgetfulness is very common. I can never believe a third friend of mine to post a letter on my behalf. Now, in case of an emergency, if it is an emergency, before handing a letter, my letter to a third friend of mine, I put him on his oath before handing the letter to him, that he will not forget to post the letter. Now, if somebody asks me to post a letter, he can only be a foolish person, because if I carry the letter in my hand, I'm always passed to the post office when I remember that I ought to have posted this letter. For example, I have to go to Srinagar, and somebody asks me, since you are going through Chinar-II, please post this letter on my behalf. Even if I carry the letter in my hand, I reach Srinagar when I remember that I ought to have posted this letter at Chinar-II. Then what I do, I take the letter, I put the letter in my pocket, and then I forget all about the letter. Then I never remember the fact that somebody had given me a letter and asked me to post it on his behalf, and I had forgotten to post the letter. Then I had put that letter into one of my pockets. I forget all this. After a chain of circumstances, after a long time, that person finally, someday, comes to me and asks me, didn't you by chance forget to post that letter? Then I remember, yes, I had taken a letter. Then I am compelled to produce that letter out of my pocket. Books, walking sticks are also the things which many people forget to take care of. And umbrella is another interesting thing which most of the people forget to take care of. You tell me, has any person achieved this feat that from cradle to grave he has never lost an umbrella in his lifetime? No, I don't think so. I don't think anybody might have achieved this feat. You look around, you analyze yourselves, you will come to know that umbrella is one such thing that most of the people forget to take care of. Now, when a research is conducted on the things which are lost in trains or at public places, we come to know that it is the young men, especially sportsmen, who tend to forget more than elders. Because somebody may be thinking that with increasing age, memory fades down, memory of a person decreases. But that's not the case as well, because it is seen from the things. It looks like that sportsmen, young men, tend to forget more than elders. Now, why sportsmen forget things? It is easy to understand. When a sportsman leaves his ground, physically he is leaving the ground, but mentally he is occupied with the ground. He is either very happy or very sad. When a player leaves the ground, he is lost in memories. He is thinking about his good moves and bad moves. He is always thinking about where he was technically correct and where he was technically incorrect. Such a person who is lost in his own world is bound to be a little absent-minded. Such a person is thinking about bigger issues, so he is unable to take care of the smaller issues, like to carry a bat or a ball with him. The same theory applies to anglers. It is said about anglers that they are highly imaginative. They often forget their fishing rods. Although I don't know whether this statement is true or false. I personally have nothing to do with this statement, but it is said that they are highly imaginative and they forget their fishing rods. Why they forget their fishing rods? It is said that they are highly imaginative. They are always in search of new stories. They are making new stories to amuse their family, especially their wives. When they return home, when they are at work, they are in search of they are making new stories in their minds. They are inventing new stories to amuse their family, their wives, their children, etc. Now, a person who is always after something, is always occupied with making a story, is always occupied with inventing new situations, new stories, is bound to be a little absent-minded. Such a person thinks in utopia. Utopia, means perfect state. Utopia means perfect state. A state, a place where everything is perfect. A state where people live as per their wishes, where weather, circumstances, everything is according to the wishes of its citizens. That's not possible here in this world. In utopia, the anglers, since everybody is happy in utopia, so anglers might also be happy there. The anglers in utopia might be throwing their fishing rods, pulling their fishing rods, getting a big fish. They push their fishing rods towards water, pull the fishing rod, they're getting a bigger fish. Throw the fishing rod towards water, pull the rod and get a better, bigger, healthier fish. But that's not possible here in this world. Here what happens, an angler has to wait for hours. He has to wait sometimes for a full day to catch a single fish. When an angler is thinking about utopia, in his mind, he is throwing a rod and getting a fish. He is throwing a rod and getting a fish. So that person is bound to forget that ordinary fishing rod. Because after all, that ordinary fishing rod has no value when we compare that with the fishing rod of utopia. The absent-mindedness of this kind is a virtue. Because after all, such a person is making best of life, is always enjoying, is keeping himself, his heart happy. Who would have trusted Socrates? Who would have trusted Coleridge? Were they dishonest people? No. The writer means to say that Coleridge, Socrates, they were also absent-minded. Why they were absent-minded? Because they were busy with bigger issues. They were busy with the bigger issues of the day. Their minds were filled with more glorious matters, so they had no time to remember the ordinary things. The question whether good memory is good for human beings or not has often been discussed, and men with bad memories have always tried to make a case for themselves. They say that a man who is a perfect remembering machine, a man whose memory is high, is not a man of first intelligence. A man like a perfect remembering machine is not a genius person. A man like a perfect remembering machine is not a creative man. But I imagine that writers and musicians have been the men with exceptional powers of memory. They produce art because of their good memories. Writers write books, novels, short stories, essays, poems because of their good memory. Memory is behind what they produce, what they give. On the other hand, stockbrokers have extraordinarily bad memories. And statesmen also have got extraordinarily bad memories. They are notorious in the whole world. They are notorious. People accuse them that they are always telling lies. Whether they are telling lies or not, that is a secondary issue. But one thing is for sure, that statesmen and stockbrokers have extraordinarily bad memory. I conclude this session with the argument that modern man has got a good memory, a good ordinary memory. If a person does not possess a good memory, an ordinary memory, an efficient memory, we regard that person as eccentric, we regard that person as mad, foolish, or idiot. If the memory of modern man, if the memory of human beings had not been efficient, had not been good, the man might not have been living in the institutions of family, in the institutions of society. Modern man has evolved a vast civilization. Modern man has formed many institutions only and only because of his good memory.